I'm joined by Craig Finn of the Hold Steady. How are you today, sir?
I'm really good. How you doing?
I'm very well. You're coming back and treating us in the city of Toronto, not one, not two, but three shows with really nothing else around it. You go off to Australia at the end of the month, but just coming in to say hi.
Yeah, well, we've been touring this way for a number of years where we just pick dates on the calendar and we say where would we like to go for 3, 4 dates at a time. And we hadn't been to Toronto in, I don't know, 2 years probably. So it felt like it was time for a visit. And we've kind of reinvented how we tour and we've really enjoyed it. So yeah, we've been doing these weekends and it is time for a visit to Toronto.
Well, you picked a great time. The weather's really starting to warm up now. January, I would have questioned a little bit where you guys are at. Why would you leave Minnesota to come just here? But things are getting a little nicer, so that's all right. Was there an incident, an impetus, something that caused you guys to decide that this is how you wanted to do stuff? Just set up shop?
Funny enough, in 2014, the Horseshoe Tavern in Toronto asked us
Legendary.
if we wanted to do 4 shows for their anniversary. And we went, we actually, our initial reaction was we thought that was too many. And we went and we played 4 shows in a row. And what we found is a lot of people from around traveled to them. And we have so many songs now that we can play wildly different sets every night. And it ended up being this great event that really underscored the community around the band. And we said, wait a minute, rather than roll into every city and go out and kill ourselves, and roll into towns on a Monday night, and get on stage 10 at 10 p.m. with an audience that, like us, has gotten a little older. We've been a band for 20 years. Why don't we just like kind of concentrate on these weekends? And what we found is it's just been incredible. It's reinvigorated the band, the audience, and I'll be honest, I don't know why more bands don't do it our way.
Yeah, you almost get to set up like a home, right? You get to sleep in the same bed for a couple nights in a row. It's got to be a nice change.
Yeah, and I mean the other thing is like I said, we have so many songs. We have like 140 songs. So rather than at sound check, rather than spending the time seeing if your amp still works or what the room sounds like, you might say, "Hey, what's a song we haven't played in 7 years? Let's see if we can work it up and really, surprise the audience tonight." So everything becomes much more musical too.
That's awesome. And what a treat for the fans too. So it's the Great Hall, May 2nd and 3rd, and then the concert hall on May the 4th. You can get tickets at theholdsteady.net. Now, the latest record, The Price of Progress. I mean, obviously over the last year, I've spent plenty of time with it. Spent more time with it last night and again this morning. And I found myself in traffic. I mean, thank God not getting in an accident, but being transported to these other worlds. Like what I think is so brilliant about the way you guys write songs is that like in this one, hey, we're just hanging out with Carlos, who's not having a great day at the pub. Then all of a sudden, I'm backstage with an actor and things are going wrong, but it's going to be fine. And then I'm crushing up pills and drinking gin and watching basketball. And it's just, they're these beautiful short stories that I guess cinematic is maybe a word to be used for them. And how how is it that you start writing those? Like, are there little things that happen that you make note of? Are they just completely fictionalized that you just come up with something? Or like, are you making notes constantly?
Yeah, I mean, the iPhone notes app gets a lot of work. It used to be notebooks, but nowadays it's as technology advanced, you've always got that with you. I mean, I actually do a podcast called That's How I Remember It, and I talk to a lot of writers about kind of how memory informs their creativity. And I think a lot of people say what I say, which is that these details that you hang on the walls, you might make up a story. You might make up a story about a guy. The example I always use is someone who robs a bank. I've never robbed a bank, but if I sort of describe the bank branch that I go to in some detail, and maybe it's on a corner that I've walked by 4 million times, you can get a more honest fiction story. You can get a
Yeah.
a story that has a lot of details. So I think you are noticing details, and then when you go to construct a story that might have a lot of made up stuff in it, you can build a world that feels real.
Yeah, it just they feel so real so quickly, I think is what is so brilliant about the songs. Like the one thing that stands out immediately and is such a visual is the idea of the wanted poster on the window, but then the kids' cakes behind the glass. And it's just such a juxtaposition of two things that you had to have seen that in real life. That had to be a real thing.
I was thinking of a particular building in my hometown of Minneapolis, and a bakery that I would always walk by that never seemed to be open, and and I always thought like, what's the story? And those are the kind of things that can kind of set me off. Like, all right, I walk by this bakery 20 times. They've got these beautiful looking cakes in the window, and yet they're never open. What is this? What could be happening? And there it goes.
Wild how it just rolls like that. Um, what is the building on the album art?
Oh, so what that was a bank building in Newark, and that's a great story. I was working with a guy who did was doing the artwork for us, and we were talking about photographs and photographers we really like. And he mentioned Alex Soth. Alex Soth is a very decorated photographer, and I said, "It's funny you mention Alex Soth because I've never met him, but." He did go to high school with me. He was 1 year older than me, and I
No
never talked to
way.
him. And he said, "You have to." And Alex had a great career. I mean, he's had big articles in the New Yorker, the New York Times, etc. He's a very accomplished photographer. And Vance, who was working with me, said, "You have to call him. You have to get in touch with him and say we want an Alex." So I did. I just sent him a note through his website. He came back in an hour and said, "I love your music. Let's do something." He had that photo, and it's a great photo because it's sort of this old bank building, and if you look from far away, like you would see, or on a small image like you would see it these days on Spotify, a thumbnail image, it looks like a very staid official bank. But when you
Yeah.
get vinyl or something bigger, you realize the windows are boarded up, there's some graffiti on it, and there's some real wear and tear on it. And so I sort of thought the price of progress with the title, it kind of it showed some of the wear and tear when you blew it up, but it looked really good at a small, like, very official and um when it was small.
Even more reason to pick it up on vinyl. That the resurgence of vinyl has been amazing, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm 52 years old, so of course I grew up with vinyl, and it really feels like you're getting something. I think
Yes.
that people talk a lot about this Spotify era, the streaming area, but I always feel like there was something that when someone burned me a CD for the first time, I was like,
Absolutely.
uh-oh, uh-oh, we don't, this is just ones and zeros here, and not even in an economic or a business sense, but I just thought, well, there's some magic lost versus a vinyl. So I am very much happy to see it back.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It seems like streaming is so disposable. And even like CDs, they never had any value to them. There's no weight to them, but there's just something about you get a good record on vinyl, you put it on, then you use it to roll a joint on, and you're good to go. Like,
Yeah, it does everything for you.
what is it in the water in Minnesota that has just bred so many of our favorite bands? Like, you've obviously been around them.
Yeah, I mean, I've lived in New York for a while now, but I am from Minneapolis, and that is definitely where we consider ourselves to have two hometowns. But Minneapolis, I think there's a couple things. One is just, and this seems like a pat answer, but the weather. I mean, you have
Yeah,
to spend a lot of time indoors, and um, but I think there is also, I mean, geographically, you look at a map and it's far from everything else. So I mean, it's 7 hours from Chicago, 6 or 5 from Milwaukee. I mean, it's its own thing, and created its own culture. And music is just very important to that city, and it has been since Prince, since the Replacements, and Husker Du.
yeah,
Maybe before that, Bob Dylan's from there, although he moved away pretty early. But I think that there's always been a pride in the music scene there. And I think the other big thing is the club, First Avenue, has been there for 50 years. And I think that is to have something. I mean, clubs tend to come and go. The Horseshoe
yeah.
doesn't, but there other places tend to come and go, and to have something that really is a rock of the scene like that can really help.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time greatly. Really look forward to seeing you May 2nd, 3rd at the Great Hall, May 4th at the Concert Hall. If you go to theholdsteady.net, not only are tickets available for each show, but you can buy a 3-day pass as well. So hang out with the boys the whole time.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great thing, and we will play different sets every night. So we encourage people to come and hang out. The community around the band is amazing, and you know what? We're sounding really good right now. So I'm very excited to be in Toronto.
We write our own reviews. I love it.
All
Craig Finn, thank you so much for your time, sir.
right, thank you. Really appreciate it.